Imagine going to a museum with the purpose of spreading awareness for mental health, only to find that the objects there are what many have called horrible, and you'd be glad that they are no longer in use. The Glore Psychiatric Museum, which was originally called State Hospital No. 2, which was established in 1877. It was later renamed St. Joseph Hospital, and in 1966, it was opened up as a museum. During its operation as a hospital, it was used to treat patients with mental health, using devices and methods that goes way back to the medieval times, which for today's standards would be considered horrible and inhumane, such as lobotomies, locking them in a room just for acting out, dumping them in a tank full of water, even using torture methods to treat patients. And I am so glad that they don't use those methods anymore, because why would they even use it in the first place? It's just how it was back then. But this is nothing new, as these type of devices goes way back to at least the 1500s, which were used, believe it or not, to treat people back then who had mental health, except they were treated and persecuted as witches and sorcerers and many other unspeakable things. They were either simply locked up or were condemned, much like how many of the women were condemned while being persecuted as witches during the Salem witch trial. The hospital was relocated to a different facility. Although it never closed, it did in fact opened up as a museum in 1966, where many objects were displayed to spread awareness for mental health and to educate people on how treatment and mistreatment of people with mental health had changed and evolved over time, and even showing medieval devices that were once used in the 1500s to treat people with mental health. Even showing a display of someone being persecuted as a witch, because no one knew back then that a lot of the medical conditions that we know today were the result of mental health. Even devices that many have called horrible and torture devices were actually normal back then to treat people with mental health, which I'm glad they no longer used. One of the many objects includes a coffin-sized lunatic box to lock up patients to restrain them while standing up, and a tranquilizer chair where they are strapped down and a facility attached to the bottom to relieve themselves, and having a bag placed over their heads to supposedly calm them down, which gives off medieval torturing devices. But back in the day when those devices were used, that's how they treated mental patients. And that's not all that makes the museum bizarre and haunting, and I'll tell you why. The museum is said to be haunted by spirits, possibly patients who lost their lives. Visitors have reported seeing rocking chairs swaying back and forth on their own, shadows darting across the walls, the feeling of being followed even though no one's around, strange smells, knocking on locked doors, flickering lights, and even a child's voice saying, "Help me." Even paranormal investigators have experienced paranormal activities, as the museum is teeming with paranormal activities, and it's all over YouTube, making the Psychiatric Museum one of the most haunted places in America. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and comment your favorite ghost stories. And until next time, stay classy, and I'll see you all in the next video.